All right, we are live for the Founders Cup 2018 podcast. I'm Macy. I'm going to host, and I have 5 wonderful men here tonight. We've got Anthony with Relax and Take the D. Go ahead and say hi, Ant, so everyone knows who you are.
Everybody knows who we are.
I've got Brick with Hate. Say hi, Brick. I've got David Carver with Rad. I've got Jason Benoit with Gordon Bombays.
Yep.
And last but certainly not least, Tyler Gramlin with So Fucking Good.
Hello.
Is that a new team?
All right, you guys. 4 out of 5 of you are ranked in the top 4. But all 5 of you do have extreme experience when it comes to Founders Cup. So I want to hear a little bit about your thoughts on Founders Cup, how it looks this year, how you think it's about to look this coming weekend versus how it's looked in the past, your first Founders Cup, and pros and cons. What was better then, now? Is it gaining any traction? And Brick, I'm going to start with you.
Oh, goodness. Let's see what it's going to look like this year. I think it's definitely a big change, especially for those of us that have been playing for 5 or 6 years. Definitely a top-heavy tournament. But looking down, you've got teams anywhere from the 1 to 3 and even into the 4 seed for each pool that could easily spring an upset. I think we've seen in years past that the 7th fielder, the ball, just the allure of Founders Cup kind of changes the game a little bit. And, I would expect anything to happen here. I think a lot of these teams are bringing really stacked rosters and really good teams, but just having a good team on paper isn't gonna do it this year. I think everybody's gonna have to go out there and compete, and I wouldn't be surprised if one of the top 4 or 5 might get left out come elims. So that's kind of what I'm expecting. Yeah,
I like it. Benoit, anything different than what Brick said as far as Founders Cups that you've been at, maybe even your very first Founders Cup versus what you expect to see this year?
Well, I mean, this year we're the outlier, right? Because we're the one not in the top 4. As I think Ant will tell you and everybody else, this is a 4-horse race here. But I think, any of us that have been at Founders a lot have noticed there's always an upset. There's always an upset in some pool. It's weird because there's only 15 teams this year. So, but I mean, there's the year where Toronto Blow Jays upset somebody. There's a year where SOFA lost their top seed. Was it Pitch Intense? Who was it that you guys played there?
It was Pitch Intense, yeah.
Yeah. So there was that year, and then they came back to win the whole thing. But, historically, Founders, I actually started out, my first Founders was there as a referee. I went and refereed one year. Then I went and played in the first ever Fun Games, which back then was not the debaucherous shit show that it is now. It was like maybe 14 teams, and we won some award because every time that we scored, we took an article of clothing off, and every time we got scored on, we put one on, and we ended up beating some team 20-1. And it's the only thing that saved us from taking our underwear off. And I remember we're sitting at the bowl, which the bowl was the best part of all the Founders, and they're calling out like the superlative awards or something, and we won like $1,500 for whatever, like best fun team or some shit. And everyone's sitting somewhere else on the hill, and everybody starts ripping their clothes off and running down to the bottom of the hill, and we're posing naked, basically. I would say that's probably the best memory of Founders too, and it had nothing to do with competitive kickball.
Love that. Yeah. I miss the bowl.
The bowl is sadly gone, but I don't know. It's a different feel. I mean, I know you'll probably want to get into that later, but it's a totally different feel now. And I think this year reflects a lot of different things, but I miss the bowl. Sure.
Mm-hmm. Like it. Ant, thoughts on Founders Cup, the way that you saw it when you first started coming versus what you expect to see this year?
Yeah, basically the same thing that they were saying. 4 or 5 years ago was probably my first one. I don't think we even won a game, and it was in the bowl. And there was like 45 teams. And, maybe half are pretty decent, and then other ones are just your hometown team that you won your WASA league. But this year there's only 15 teams, and I mean all the 15 teams are pretty legit. So basically, it just got a lot smaller and got bigger with the open and the fun game. That's where they're trying to draw everything. But it should be more competitive, and your pool play games are going to be more important for sure this year than they were years ago. That
Right.
makes sense.
Yeah, pool play will definitely matter. Carver, other thoughts?
No, I'm just gonna, echo what they're talking about. My first one, there was, so many more teams, and it just seems like it's kind of come down a lot, and maybe that's just because of the open and whatnot. And, there were a couple stacked teams the first time I went, and, they didn't win. They didn't go as far as everyone thought they would. And, it's anyone's game. There can be upsets at any time. So, looking forward to Saturday. See what happens.
Same. Last but not least, Tyler.
Yeah, I was just looking back. Our first Founders Cup was in 2007. So we're at, 11 years ago, and it was totally different. It was free. There was a ton of teams. It started at noon and went till like 2 in the morning. The bowl was just an absolute shit show. It was completely night and day different. It was definitely it was a blast. It was the first time I ever saw real competitive kickball once we saw some of the teams from back east that had been doing it a little bit longer. And it was a total game changer, and it's changed a lot. I think that I missed the invitational format where you had to represent your league and your city, and that was really cool. It created a kind of a cool camaraderie that's gone. But I don't necessarily think it's a bad thing because the kickball's way better. So it's fine. Totally different. Like I think Jason or Brick said, it's so top-heavy now. One little mistake is going to end your day on Saturday. It's you don't have any room for error. So you used to be able to cruise through 2 of your 3 pool play games and still win your pool and know your seed, and that's not going to be the case on Saturday.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think my first Founders Cup was like 2008 or 2009, and I came with the Santa Barbara team, and I remember our first game, which most of our team was drunk, and we played, I think, a team from like New York, I don't even know, and they were very good. And about halfway through, someone on their team was on second base, and the captain yells to him, "Stop smiling and get on your fucking horse!" And we were like, "Oh, this is the same kickball that we play." We didn't really know what we were doing there, so I think it's become it's the open and the fun games have kind of leveled out interests for different teams. But certainly we've talked a little bit about the top dogs. I know there's been a lot of chatter about it, but like you guys all said, there hasn't really been a Founders Cup where there isn't an upset. And aside from the top 4 teams, we also have a bottom of the bracket. Those 11, 12, 13, 14, and 15 teams. So I asked you guys to do a little bit of research and talk about one of them each. And actually, Tyler, since you went last, can you say what team, what seed they are, and what your thoughts about them are, and if they have a chance to make it to elims this weekend?
Yeah, so I'm going to talk about the Sonics, number 13. They're a team from Northern California. I looked over their roster. I'm not super familiar with all the names. I recognize some, but we seem to play them over and over in regionals. They come a lot to a lot of the tournaments out here out west. And they're a team that kind of was one of those teams that went 0-3 and didn't do well. And the next time you saw them, they won a game and they looked a little bit better. And we just faced them in the West Coast Regional in Pasadena, and they looked pretty solid. I mean, they put up a bunch of runners on us early. They definitely have improved a ton. So, being ranked 3rd from the end, they're someone that they could easily upset somebody. They could put together a couple base hits early in a game, put someone on their heels, and next thing you know, you're trailing 2-0 in the first inning to a team you thought you were going to roll. So, that's someone I would keep an eye on. Definitely not going to count them out by any means. And like I said, they've been better. Every time I see them, they get a little bit better. They seem to pick up a few more guys, and they're getting the hang of everything a lot more experience under their belt. So definitely keep an eye out for them.
Well, any teams in particular in their pool that you could imagine them upsetting?
Well, those teams. Relax is coming in pretty cocky. So you never know if Ant overlooks them. they may get him. Highly unlikely, but I don't know. Like I said, everyone's really good. You know, that whole pool, every pool is good. So, you know, I don't know much about the 12 team from Kansas, so maybe they could jump them easily. But any of the teams in there were pricks. You know, there's anyone in there is able to be beat by a couple of good bunts and then landing a kick. Next thing you know, you're up a couple runs.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I like it. Brick, tell us a little bit about the team that you looked at.
So Tyler actually just mentioned them. I didn't realize they were from Kansas, but I guess they just picked a random player from their team and assigned a state. But I was going to touch a little bit on TBDAF, which is basically the Waka name for the 15 contingent that we know pretty well. It looks like they'll be without their fearless leader, Brett Lato, who has gotten rid of the peg leg from what I hear. His recovery from the Achilles tear is going good. But we played them last year in our first game. I can't remember if we had a bye and then came off and played them or just played them cold. But, I mean, kind of what I was touching about earlier, these lower seed teams are good and they can easily surprise some of the top teams. We tied them, I think, 5-5 after going down 5-0 in the first inning. So I think they're severely, not necessarily severely underranked because I wouldn't necessarily put them much higher, but they are an extremely talented group who knows how to play. They've got 16 people. I think they've got all the pieces to go toe to toe with some of these teams in pool play. It'll just kind of depend on how they start, and if they can close out some of these teams that they may jump out and surprise a little bit, trying to rest their starters. It's a quote unquote lower seeded team, which they're kind of anything but. So, word to the wise ant, if you want to take them lightly or not, it's up to you. But I'm upset, you guys.
I like it. Carver, go ahead and tell us who you looked at.
I looked at Not Today. They're a West Florida team out of Pensacola, I believe. I know that they've played in a couple of regionals now. I played them 2 years ago, and they've made it to elims both years. And 2 years ago, they played us in the round of 8, and they did pretty well. We were quite surprised, and they somewhat knew what they were doing. They're still fairly fresh, but they like to talk. They're very chirpy, and they're going to try and get in your heads, and they're going to yell and scream, and they're going to do all sorts of noises to try and intimidate you. But I know that they beat Hazard, I think, last year in Atlanta. So if they can get things going, they can string together some runs. They can somewhat be dangerous. They're very athletic, so don't play easy with them. But in that pool, I mean, maybe they could upset Minaj, but I don't see them touching Sofa or Shockwave, and multiple scoregasms. I mean, maybe that's a toss up, but they could get away with beating Minaj.
Okay, I like it. They're good, well-researched jobs. Ant, why don't you talk about your team?
The 15 seed, Shattered Dreams. They were supposed to be in the Open, and they actually got forced to be put in Founders, which sucks because they have no chance. But I'm just kidding. They have Drew on there from Cowtown. He's up and coming. He played with Shattered Dreams in Phoenix, I believe, and they made it to the finals. But it's not based. It's, I think, half the team. They had Darnell. He sucks. Adam, he sucks. They got Cora, who's good, and then Drew. But other than that, I think they're in the third pool, and they got to play Red and Hate. So I mean, oh my god, that's just horrible. So, but yeah, they're all kidding aside, they're a good team, and they have people from Goats and all around. Dibs, I guess, with Darnell and Cowtown, and then Coro's always been playing with SoFa. So I don't know. I just think they're in a tough pool, and but they could surprise maybe Goats because that team's trash too. So yeah, that's about it.
Anthony's notes just say sucks, trash, sucks.
Expert analysis.
Yeah, thanks, Ant. Benoit, why don't you round up our 11 through 15 seeded team review?
Yeah, I got multiple Scoregasms who come in as the 14 seed. This is a Santa Barbara team, so anything I have actually probably just came from Macy telling me. In all honesty, though, I mean, if you've ever heard Macy talk about the Santa Barbara kickball scene, it's a lot of fun, and I think this is a team that is probably out there with a less competitive edge, even though I know a bunch of the females play on regifted and circuit, and have played actually a lot of kickball and a lot of meaningful kickball. I mean, look. Darnell's team, Shadow Dreams, got brought in because they wanted to play in the Open, and they probably would have been the 1 seed in the Open, and now they're the 15 seed in Founders. And they probably shouldn't even be the 15 seed in Founders. They should probably be slightly higher than that. So all respect to Santa Barbara staying in the Founders Cup tournament, because I have a lot of respect for teams that actually stayed in this and didn't go to the Open. Even if you're bleeding players or whatever. But I think it's going to be a really tough day for Scoregasms. But there's the adage which Macy always says, which I believe is true, which is everybody hates a fun team. So if they're out there having fun and getting drunk, doing whatever, they can really fuck with you. And if all it takes is for them to knock off one team or tie one team in that pool, and that screws up their day. And it's possible because you come out early, you're a little sluggish. Some of your players went and did the whole Vegas thing because it inevitably happens to at least 2 players on every damn team every single season. I expect them to go 0-4. But, it's Vegas. Anything happens.
Cool. Well said. And a little fun fact, I think aside from SoFa, Multiple Scoregasms actually has the longest Founders Cup tenor coming in. But great job, you guys. I appreciate you looking at all of those teams. Now I'm a little bit more interested in hearing what you think about the overall look of how the day is going to go. And before we get into elims, where the teams are going to fall, I want to know if you, kind of almost in like a fantasy football sense, but in kickball, like those players that are game changers, the ones who can take a team from maybe the 9th seed and not make elims to breaking ground, 2 outs up the bat, whatever it is, or it's just their attitude on the sidelines. They can be on any team out of these 15, but if you can think of somebody that truly makes a difference in the game, those are the people that I want to highlight. And Anthony, even though you think everybody sucks, why don't you start?
All right. So I guess if you're thinking about someone who's a game changer, you have to think about Pat, because he's the only one on Goats that is worth a shit. So if he gets going, I could see him throwing against Red and Hate and upsetting both of them in pool play. If they could score 1 run and try to shut them out, that would be pretty interesting.
All right, good. We got Pat. Brick, what about you?
I kind of a curveball question. I hadn't really thought of it much, but I'm gonna be a homer and go with a guy on our team, my man Keon, who kind of burst onto the scene a little bit last year, this year, but he's raw athleticism. The guy is hype for real. He's got a great attitude, and for a bunch of guys who like to yell at the people on second base and tell them to get their head in the game and get on their horse, it's a good attitude to have to kind of bring down the seriousness with kind of the hype that he brings to the team and just his lighthearted attitude. I mean, the guy loves to have fun, so he's kind of a game changer on the field, but off the field as well. So he's my game changer.
I agree.
Yeah,
I do too. He's got a great attitude.
He does. Carver, what about you? Any game changers?
I mean, I'll go with the most obvious, and now knowing that Tremaine is in here, I mean, it's got to be Tremaine for me. I mean, whether they catch him, pitch him, whatever, he's a dominant force he would be a dominant force for any team. So I'm going to go with Tremaine from Shockwave.
Benoit, Benoit?
Oh, I mean, Carver took mine, but I think that's the obvious one too. I think, I mean, I'll speak more about the West Coast teams because those are the ones I've seen, which I wouldn't call it a game changer necessarily, but I think it's a string of things, which is if you look at like the Arizona Pricks, if they can get those 4, 5, 6 kickers dropping things in like they tend to do sometimes when they get hot, I mean, I think that's a game changer for them versus other teams. With Waka being, the extra guy on the field and the girls just being that much better players defensively, there's just not many holes out there specifically for dropping kicks in. The ball doesn't fly. These fields traditionally don't play fast. So, I mean, I think, honestly, when you look at these fields, I think the two I would point out would be someone like Steven on Sofa, right, who's just long and got a cannon, and I think there's a lot of those bunts are just going to kind of sit there. And I think the other one is obviously, when you look at something like Relax and Take the D, you take 2 really super consistent leadoff bunters. And I think that's a big thing in Founders where you're really playing these sort of 1-2 run games. And so I think a guy like Zach is a game changer. Absolutely.
Yeah, those are great. Tyler.
Am I muted? Oh, I'm here. Okay, so I think that every team has really good players. Everyone has fast guys and good charger and all that. But I think Haight has an advantage they have Bill on there, who's definitely won more than anyone at Founders Cup ever. He's dominated that tournament for a decade. Mm-hmm. And then you have Brick as well, who's won more tournaments in circuit and Walker combined, So I think having those 2 guys, but mainly Bill, for some reason he knows like the cheat code to Founders Cup, and not anything he's really going to do on the field, but just having him in your sideline and moving things around and strategizing is an advantage. It's probably overlooked for people who don't even know who that is or don't know the history of him going back and just winning Founders Cup. And then rules change and he wins that, and then he just shows up to Vegas and wins. So that's something that's pretty valuable.
Nice.
Hey Tyler, we're testing Bill's cheat codes this weekend because I think we also have Gene on the team who has lost more Founders Cup finals than most people ever strive to in a lifetime. So if Bill can get Gene over the hump, it'll prove that he is the greatest kickballer in the history of the world.
I will tell you the first time that I was at Founders, I was roughing, and I ended up getting in the pool with Bill's team, and I ended up roughing all 3 of their pool play games back then. And Bill, I think, was the leadoff back then, and he legitimately took every single pitch, and then the last possible pitch, he laid perfect bunts on, and he did this all through pool play the entire day. I was just like, that's the greatest kickball player I've ever seen. I was like, he literally didn't care. He would take as many pitches as possible. He'd foul things off intentionally. And then he just lay down. He just paint time after time after time.
I like it. Those are great players. I was going to give a little shout out to Randall or Ocho on Word. Tall, plays Chargers, sticky finger outfielder, catches it like it's an end zone pass. And I think similar to how Brick described Keon, he's just somebody that like when he gets going and his attitude is there, everyone kind of follows suit. So I think he changes the game for Word. Attitude off the field and skill set on the field.
He's a good dude too. Like just a nice, infectious personality.
Bless you.
Thank you.
All right, you guys, we are getting down to it. I'm going to start with just one of you letting me know what your actual predictions are. And what I did was I have the actual pools laid out. Oh, no. All right, I have this really fancy diagram, but my computer is really shitty. So I'm going to start with Brick. I'll try and make this work while you're telling me, but based on the way that everything is written, out of the top 8 teams that are ranked by Waka, let us know if there's any of those 8 that are changing when going into elims.
Trying to look at where's your lose Macy.
Do you see me?
No, I see you. We see you.
No.
Okay.
Not much.
All right. All right. Are you ready? Can you hear me?
Okay.
That is nice.
All right, so this is what it would look like if the teams fall where they are. Just let me know if and which any of these teams change going into the top 8.
Gotcha. Okay. Not in my top 8 is AZ Pricks. That is fancy.
Oh shit! It's interactive.
Yeah. And Word. I do not have Word in my top.
Right.
Have
any of these seeds changing?
Did we get clarification on reseed or
I
no?
was going to ask those.
No reseed.
So they would just take over.
But what happens with the last 2 picks?
Well, I mean, it's Walker rules, right? So it's runs against.
So it's just wild card and it goes to runs against.
I'd imagine so, yeah. Because there's no head-to-head, probably.
Is this the first time that this has happened at Founders?
I mean, we can talk about this too, but you got 15 teams in a tournament that used to draw 50 teams. And they built the structure based on subjective rankings for people who, haven't seen all these teams play, haven't seen them play different machinations, and we're playing off a pre-seeded tournament, which is sort of an antiquated technology for this tournament. I mean, it's crazy that we're not reseeding a 15-team tournament that used to be a 50-team tournament. I get it. You could justify it a little bit when it was 50 teams, but it's fucking 15 teams. Reseed the damn tournament. We're not playing everybody. All these teams are pretty damn good. Some of them more stacked than others. Reseed the damn tournament.
True. Well, when Saw comes on, that might be a question to ask him. But for now, they're not reseeding. So, Brick, what are your other 2 teams that make it into the 8?
This is tough. I'm trying to see.
And these are your pools if you need to look.
Well, all right. So I guess going back to Pool A, I've got TBDAF making it out. So there's going to be 2 teams from each pool making it out, correct? And then 2 wild cards, basically. There has to be 2 teams from each pool. Is that how it works?
I don't know if that's true though.
No, I don't think it's based on the pools at all.
I mean, it's likely, but
if they're predetermined seeds, then I guess I think it kind of has to be, right?
That's what I was thinking.
That's a great point, actually.
Yeah. Well, we'll say that TBDAF takes the AZ Prick spot. And then, so let's say that someone would take Word's spot.
So
technically,
Brick, I'm under the impression it's the winner of the pool, the runner-up of the pool, and then 2 wild cards advance.
Yeah,
that's how they've always done it with this tournament. So they didn't announce any change. So I'm basing it on that.
Yeah.
So if Brick, you're going with just Relax and TBDAF, then TBDAF would take Word's spot, I'm assuming.
Yep, that's right. Okay. So yeah, I got that, and then I've got goats out of the last pool.
Okay. Between Relax and Shockwave, who do you have?
Relax and Shockwave. I'll go with the defending champs, and that's mainly after Shockwave's missed performance in Georgia recently.
All right. And Hate and Minaj?
Hate, obviously.
Obviously. What about Sofa and Goats?
True. That's a tough one. Goats obviously is getting the wild card here.
Oh, he dropped it.
So I don't necessarily think
just see that
the pool or the standings are going to show off like this. I think Sofa's going to lose their seat. I don't know if that matters at all, but that's mainly just because they keep Benz in a cage until they really need him. So like that kind of affects how things end up. I don't know. I would have Sofa losing their seed, so they may switch. I have Hate and Rad switching. Do we want to go that far in depth?
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's kind of how I was doing stuff.
I do think Relax good to go, and they keep theirs. So Hate over TBDF. Yeah, I still got that. That's the same. So who does Sofa switch with?
Shockwave.
Or Minaj.
Or Minaj.
Man.
I've got Minaj winning that pool. So go ahead and switch with Sofa. And I've got Shockwave sneaking in as the 8th seed.
All right. So it looks like that. All right. So now let's go Minaj and Goats. What do you have?
Minaj and Goats. I've got Minaj in an overtime game.
All right. And what about Rad and Sofa?
Rad and Sofa. I've got Sofa with the win.
All right. Now you've got Sofa and Relax in the semis. Who do you have taking that?
Tyler, how many times did y'all play last year? 2 or 3? Or two? You're on mute. Who won the first matchup?
They got them both.
They got them both? Sofa, it's hard to beat a good team 3 times.
All right.
Yeah.
Minaj and Hate.
I've got Hate in the finals.
And then taking home.
And I've got Hate winning it all, or else I wouldn't be making the trip.
All right. Great. So we've got Brick's bracket. Looks like this.
Beautiful.
Everyone's going to get an opportunity to do this. But I also asked you guys to come up with questions for one another and told you who you would be asking it to. And Benoit, I assigned you to come up with a question for Carver. So go ahead.
Okay.
Let us know what you got going.
This Carver is the one guy I don't know on here. But I'm looking at your roster, and you're deep at everywhere you need to be deep. I guess my question is for you is who's your elim starting defense? Like, what's your triangle that you throw out that you think is best? Because you're too deep at least at every position.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I don't know if I want to give up my trade secrets, but it's going to be pretty. Trey, we do have some pieces that aren't coming. Shoebridge is not coming and Trey is not coming, but I feel pretty confident with Taco at catch. Are we just doing the triangle, or you want the full?
No, just your triangle. Or if
I'll give you triangle with Rover, because we'll flex with double charge and Rover, but we'll have Grapham and Gabe running that, and then I'll have Taco behind the plate or Gabe, but. Pitching, I got 1A and 1B between Kellen and Rail. They're both studs in my opinion, and both are willing to give it the ball if they need to. Whoever's on and whoever's hot, they know that they're team players and they're willing to go with the other if it's needed. So, that's pretty much the triangle.
How'd you get Epstein on the roster?
That's too many questions, Benoit. You were limited to one question.
Okay.
5 minutes.
Welcome, made a wish.
I'll answer.
Well,
I don't
welcome
know.
back to that. It's not. Welcome back. Anthony, I asked you to ask Benoit a question.
Okay. Benoit, my question is this. You see, Gage and Macy had 3 championships this year.
Mm-hmm.
How did you let them go so easily?
Well, not every player, with all due respect, is a fit for every team. I can give the political answer regarding Gage if we want, or we can give the truthful one. The truthful one is probably didn't fit the culture, and he wanted to be a superstar, and so he went and formed a team, and they've done very well, and he's a very talented player. And he's played a lot of available teams. Word has 1 championship, so you can take that. Macy's obviously does a very good job of meeting people, and she's a very good player herself. And look, sometimes people need changes. It just happens.
Right on.
Good answer, Benoit. All right. Tyler, I'm going to put you in the hot seat as far as your picks go for your top 8.
Yeah.
And again, you're going to be doing the same exact thing that Brick just did. And so what I really want to know is, are any of the seeded 1 through 8 teams changing with what we have? So this is what it starts with.
Yeah.
Tell me if any of these switch out.
Yeah. So I have Relax staying in the 1, Sofa staying in the 2, Hate jumping to the 3, Rad taking the 4,
Okay.
Shockwave going to the 5, jumping into the 5. Word holding their 6th seed, TBDAF jumping into 7, and Goats sneaking in the 8. It's going to be Minaj and Goats in like a run ratio type, it's a run allowed or whatever tiebreak they have, and Goats is going to get it because they don't give up any runs.
All right. I like it. You did that quickly. That was great. Between Relax and Goats 1 and 8, who do you have?
This is I think this is going to be probably one of the better games. I mean, this is absurd for this to be a round of 8 matchup, but I'm going to have Relax is going to pull through to the round of 4.
All right. And then between Rad and Shockwave?
Rad's going to take that.
All right. And then we got Sofa versus TBDAF.
This is another one that's going to be tough. We've had good luck against this group in the last couple tournaments, so I'm going to say we squeak that one out.
All right. And then last quarterfinals, Hate versus Word.
Hate's going to take that.
All right. Some good semi matches here. We've got Relax versus Rad. Who do you have?
I'm gonna have to go with Rad in an upset.
Wow. I can't see Anthony's face, but I would like to. And then Sofa versus Hate.
We're moving on.
All right. And then Championship.
There.
You're taking it?
Yep.
All right. So this is Tyler's bracket. Looks good. Looks a lot different than Brick's, obviously. So I like the switch up. Very good. All right. Move back to you guys asking questions here, because the man of the hour, Saw, has tuned in and he's ready to be in the hot seat for about 10-15 minutes in the middle of crazy Walkapalooza. We're really, really, really thankful that you came on, Saw. I know you're super busy. These guys were all told that they would have an opportunity to ask you one question and maybe not the longest-winded question ever. And you would be willing and open to answer. So first of all, welcome. Thanks for joining us. And
Hey, Sal.
And Carver, I'm going to give you first option of asking Saw your question.
Okay. With the teams reducing down to 15 compared to prior years, is the prize pool the same or is it reduced?
Oh, Saw told me that his connection's really bad, so hold on 1 second. He's going to reconnect. It says if your question was never asked. Hold on. While Saw is reconnecting, I'm going to let you guys ask one more question. Tyler, you get to ask Anthony a question.
All right, Anthony, congrats on your win last year. I know you were very public about taunting anyone who was within earshot or internet connection about your win and the score of the game. Going into this tournament as a champ, you already have a giant target on your back, and I feel like you intentionally made it 2 or 3 times larger than it would have naturally been. Do you change your game plan and pool play any based on knowing the fact that most people will consider just beating you guys a victory more than they would any other team?
I don't think we really changed the game plan. I think I think we're going to throw – I think we're still waiting on Perard. We're going to try to fight these teams out and throw someone else. And if it doesn't go through, we're going to have to bring them in. But other than that, we're just trying to get the bunts down and move a couple kicks over. And I mean, I think, to be honest, I think we have the toughest pool with that Arizona Pricks and the TBDF. I just think they've been playing a lot the past couple of years together, or just all together, like they're on different teams. So I think it's going to be pretty tough, and they both go after us. I don't know, man. It's going to be a tough pool for us. But I don't know.
Well, best of luck. I know just being around for a long time and having success, people really get up to want to beat the name that has done well. It gives them a nice motivation, and it gets their day going. So
yeah, for sure.
People are going to be gunning for you more than anyone.
Yeah, great question. Rick, you get to ask Tyler a question.
So I was thinking about this, Tyler, and there's a lot of directions that this can go, but I think with you kind of being one of the elder statesmen here, we kind of get lost in conversation, but I'm curious how you got your start in kickball, and just kind of the timeline of how you got involved to then how you found out about whether it be Founders Cup and traveling and just traveling for kickball in general, and how you've kept it going for so long. I didn't realize you've been playing since 2007, at least just in Founders Cup. That's 11 years. I'm kind of amazed by it. So kind of give me a rundown of
Yeah, so it's an interesting story how I wound up in there. I was working at my first TV show, and I was on night shift, and I really wanted off the night shift. And my boss in the day had joined a Waka team that she saw an ad on Craigslist and joined it, and she needed more people. And I was like, 23 or something, and she said, "Hey, if you join my kickball team and come play, I'll let you out of the night shift and switch you to the day shift." And I was just like, all right, that's a no-brainer. And she said, and they're going to fold our team if we don't get at least 4 or 5 more players. So I need some of your buddies to get going and get out here with us. So I recruited like 5 or 6 of my buddies that had just graduated from school, and started playing, and it was super fun, and it got me off the night shift, and it was great. And a handful of those guys I still play with in local leagues, 12 years later or whatever. We all are old and have kids and everything, but that's how we started that. And then after going to a couple Founders Cups and seeing all the competition, I met Max locally in our league play, and he and I got along really well, and we sort of said, let's try to get a little bit better and see if we can compete in these tournaments. And I never played league with them until just recently. We didn't have enough bodies, but we always had 2 separate league teams, and then we formed our circuit team to kind of go see if we could hang. And it's been hard to keep it going this long. People get old and people get tired, and they get, they retire. But luckily we've had, younger, newer people come along the last couple of years and breathe new life into it. And, there's 5 or 6 of us left, or 7 maybe, from the original team. But, people turn over, and it's just somehow we've been lucky enough to get dedicated people on the vet side, and then new excited people on the young side to keep it going.
Love that. That's a great question. Saw, can you hear us okay?
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, you're
just fine.
We actually brought you right in. We were just seeing how thankful we are that during the chaos of Wakapalooza, you could take a few minutes to join. These guys have all prepped a question for you, and Carver started to ask, so I'm just going to let him repeat his question for you.
So with the reduction in teams, how much does that factor in and change the total prize pool for Founders?
Damn it.
You hear that, Saw?
No, can you, for whatever reason, I can't hear you guys clearly, but Macy, if you can type it in the chat, then I can just answer it clearly. If you guys can hear me fine, then I'm not hearing you. So just type it in that Facebook chat, and I'll answer the question, no problem. I'm sorry, guys. I'm just remote, and I've got shitty connection here.
You good?
So if you type it in the chat, I'll be able to see the question. I can just answer clearly.
It should be there. Tyler and I both typed it in.
I meant, sorry, in the Facebook chat, not in the Google chat.
Okay. I got you.
All right. So what about the prize pool? Yes, it is a reduction based on teams. The prize pool has been reduced down. The total package, instead of being $15,000 for a total package of the top 4 teams, it is now reduced down to $10,000 to the top 2 teams, with I believe $7,500 allocated to first place and $2,500 allocated to second place.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thanks. Good question, Carver. Yep. Benoit, your question?
It'll be the biggest prize pool for a 15-team tournament ever. Holy crap. You'll never see that again.
I mean, I have lots of questions. I mean, I'm obviously in the hometown camp that Tyler has kind of been fighting for over the years. But my biggest one really is I would like an answer for the reseeding because rankings are subjective in WACA terms. And I don't, these are close-ish. But the fact that all these teams are so close and it is so subjective with the rankings, why would we not reseed a 15-team tournament? I understand when it was 50 teams, why not reseed?
No, I think that's actually a very good question. And the interesting aspect is that is actually a topic of conversation the tournament committee is having, given the reduction in the total number of teams. So while our answer at present is still to stick to the policy that we have put in place previously, there's still a possibility it may change within the next 24 hours for playoffs.
Wow, great.
Cool, thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, because it's really hard to, I mean, obviously with the variety of ways teams are being formed now, I think it makes the old seeding philosophy that we used to have kind of different. I mean, obviously, last year's champions was a number 8 seed. So I think, based on how people perform during pool play, that there's certainly a reasonable argument to consider changing how we do it. So you'll know within 24 hours and certainly no later than Thursday before Brent sends out the final correspondence regarding how Founders Cup is going to work.
Cool.
Anthony, you're up.
Oh, just real simple style. I wanted to ask you, who do you have winning Founders?
Anthony is all fucking business.
Wow.
Man.
Wow. I have the best
And
team
magic.
winning. So the team that does the best that day is going to win. And my hope is that, not to show any bias, but I would prefer to see an established team win, a team that has been competing repeatedly over a period of time, as opposed to one of the run-and-gun hired teams that we're starting to see now.
Great answer.
Good answer. Brick, you get a question.
My question has nothing to do with kickball. It has everything to do with social parties. How much does WACA spend on parties during Founders Cup, whether it be pool parties? Apparently there's a Tuesday night party going on. I mean, Jesus, you know, party for freaking now.
Yeah.
What's your social budget?
Our social budget is pretty extensive. It's certainly changed a lot from what Founders Cup used to be back in 2010 to 2012. And it's certainly a commitment the company has made over the last 3 years in particular. And that's when we made that commitment to invest more in the social aspect, particularly the parties. We saw the number of players coming out increase. Part of our big problem was there was a lot of players who wanted to go to Vegas and be a part of it, but they didn't have a team or weren't interested in playing or weren't good enough or didn't get on any of Brick's super teams. So we wanted them to have an opportunity to come out and do something. And so the effort was definitely put into the parties. It's kind of hard to give you a set number because our cost is dependent upon how many players actually participate in certain parties. But I can tell you it's a lot of money. Certainly a lot more than we would put into, swag or other things. I think the party experience is one of the biggest values that the players have. And so, we work hard to negotiate deals. But it's significant. Yeah, I would tell you that the amount of money invested into the social aspect of Wacapalooza is below not below 6 figures.
Awesome.
Great.
Cool.
Tyler, do you want me to ask your question or do you want to ask it? Ask it. Okay. This question is for Tyler and
I can ask you. Can you hear me now?
Oh.
No.
Go for it. I'm just typing to him on Facebook.
Oh, just go ahead and type it in. I'll say it out loud while you type it in.
Okay.
Hey, I remember playing against you in 2008 when you were on the Sex Panthers and you guys were all rocking those awesome wigs. That was really fun. What's your favorite place in Vegas to go rock out at a dive bar? What's the best secret spot in Vegas?
I'm just waiting for Macy to type the question. She's just typing incomplete phrases. Oh, asking for my favorite dive bar in Vegas. Is that your question, Tyler? Oh, to rock out. You know, honestly, well, the one bar that I did rock out like a Sex Panther was way back. In 2011, walking over, drunk over to island, and they let us. Fuck, we went there, and glad back then people didn't have a really good cell phone because I certainly wouldn't be able to run off now. It recorded out, but the bar drinks. The hell we did. It was a good time.
All right, I think we're losing Saul a little bit on the connection, but everyone did
No.
Yeah.
Sounds
all right,
like, can you hear me clearly?
You're cutting out, but we appreciate you coming on and letting these guys each ask you a question. And I don't think any of us are going to be there tonight or tomorrow, but some of us will be there on Thursday to hopefully get to some parties and then see you at Founders Cup. So thank you very much. All right.
Guys, we're looking for this tournament this weekend. It's going to be fixed. It's going to be brutal. I'm sure you guys have tons more beat us up during the capping on Friday. To all of your questions.
Thanks. Okay, you guys, we're gonna wrap up here. I'm gonna let Benoit make his picks for the Eland round. Just based on how we've been doing it, imagine that there is no reseeding, even though Saw did just say that it's possible that will share.
Okay.
Benoit. Based on that, just tell me what you have switched around.
I'm keeping Relax and Take the D, keeps their seed. For fun, I'm gonna have Sofa slip up early in the morning, and I'm gonna let Shockwave take that seed. But I think Sofa's gonna get the revenge later. But I'm gonna give Shockwave the top in that pool. I'm gonna give Hate swapping with Rad in pool C. And then I'm gonna be controversial and drop Minaj out. Because why the hell not? I'm gonna have TBDAF sneaking in as a wild card.
As the 5?
No. As the 5, it's got to be somebody in that pool, right?
Yeah.
I mean, based on what we're saying. So Sofa would be the 5 then. I'll have TBDF as a wild card. So I'll let Word hold on to their spot, and I'll give TBDAF one of the wild cards. Let's give them the 8. And I'll give Minaj taking pricks out of there, and they'll barely. You know what? Give TBDF the 7 and give Minaj the 8. I think C is going to be the pool that only takes 2 out. I think it's just going to be how it goes down.
All right. I like it. So now you've got the quarterfinals, Relax versus Minaj. Who do you have there?
Relax.
All right. And what about with Rad and Sofa?
I'm going to give it to Sofa because I think Sofa just walks their game, and they always seem to find a way to come together and have some pretty big victories and moments in Founders. I'm gonna give them that. I'm gonna give Shockwave going to the semis here. I think a lot of this is going to be about who becomes that 7 and 8 seed if they are actually able to jump anything. And that game's a huge game, obviously. I think that could be an upset somewhere there as well. I'm going to give Hate over Word. I'm going to give Hate the advantage on that side over Shockwave. And I'm going to stick with Relax and take the D. I feel like if we're going to go super teams all in this year, it's probably these two based on talent and depth and rosters. I'd hate to see it. I would love for them both to get knocked out in the first round. I'd love every super team to get knocked out or not even make elims because I'm a homer like that. But give me Hate to take it and upset Relax so they can't have their two-peat.
All right. Looks good. I like it. And I'm going to let you come in strong. You haven't been picked to win in a while, so I'm going to let you do your bracket right off of the heels of Benoit.
Okay. Hey, just to be clear, the reason why I asked Saul that question is because I sent him a #70 t-shirt, and he was supposed to raise it. So that didn't come off too good.
I guess that's what happens when you try and bend the podcast questions in your favor.
But, no, okay, I have out, not making it. In the top 8 is Minaj and Word.
All right. And what do you have going in their spots?
Let me see. So who would go in Minaj's spot? I like Goats coming in, and I like TBDF coming in. So how would that work out? They're in
the same pool. So TBDAF would take
Word spot.
Word spot. And then I can't. And then I have.
And you have Goats.
Could Goats go in the 5 seed or no?
If they don't take the pool, they're probably this. Yeah, they could.
Right. Oops, wrong one.
The what seed?
No.
Goats couldn't be the.
No, they could only be the 3 or the 4.
Yeah,
or the
3,
8,
3, 4, 7, or 8.
Yeah. Or the 7.
Yeah, so I don't know how that's going to work then.
You have the Easy Pricks making it?
Yeah, I got the pricks in there. I like the 2 pictures.
So then Pricks and PBDAF, one of them would be.
So then I guess I can't. Well, I'm just gonna imagine that Sal's gonna seed.
Here you go. This is a possible scenario.
So I'm gonna mix it up. I'm gonna have. Well, I got Hate in the 3 seed, taking that pool. Right.
Okay.
And then I got Red over there at 4. Let's see. All right, I got who's that? Relax making it. I got Sofa making it. Red. And then we have Hate.
All right. And then the 2 in the championship.
We got Relax versus Sofa for the 3rd time.
And I can't imagine who you picked to win it all.
I got Sofa. I mean, they're due.
Good. That's what. Too late. No takebacks. There's Anthony's bracket, everyone. It'll be published later.
Anthony, how much money do you have on Sofa?
I would just mess with you guys. I'm just trying to have fun. But I have Sofa actually doing pretty well. So.
Okay, you guys, there's 2 more questions one more question. I think Carver, you're the only one that hasn't asked yet. And you get to ask Brick any question that you want.
Jesus.
Brickford, with all the available teams and the stacked teams, how do you feel that they compare to the Flying Cobra meat attack?
It's weird. I think if you were to take a snapshot of that team then and a snapshot now, I think we would have been the best team on paper ever created then, and we would still be the best team on paper ever created now. And we had guys that were kicking, 9, 10, 11, myself included, that are completely different players. That's a good question. I mean, some of those people don't even play anymore. I think our girls are not as good on that team. But as far as the guys go in the core, I mean, there's a lot of guys that are still out here on some of these super teams. I think they'd stack up really well. I think they'd probably be a 4 or a 5 seed if you were if you were to take that roster and put them in against everybody else. That's a good question. I think they match up really well. I mean, you got your 1A pitcher leading that squad, so you never know.
Nice. All right. You guys all got to ask one another a question, right? I didn't miss anyone. Ant asked Benoit. Benoit asked Carver.
Macy, nobody's asked you a question.
What's that?
I said nobody's asked you a question.
That's because I wasn't on the assignment. Didn't you read?
I didn't read any of that stuff.
Oh, do you have a question for me?
No, but I was hoping maybe Anthony probably has a question for you.
Macy.
Yeah.
I don't really have a question. I just want to say thank you for putting this together. You did a wonderful job.
No problem. Thanks, Ant.
Cheers.
Hi, babes. Okay, Carver, you get to pick your choices last, but certainly not least. So same type of thing, imagining as if the tournament is not being reseeded. Based on this 8, what do you have changing?
You can take Shockwave and move them to the 2. I've got them winning that group. And you could put Sofa at the 5.
Okay.
And then I've got TBDAF coming in as the 6.
All right.
Goats at the 7. And Minaj is the 8. I think Minaj squeaks in and brings the rally dick with him.
Oh, God. I hate that. All right. So this is your top 8 going into Elins. You've got Relax versus Minaj. Who takes that one?
I've got Relax taking it. I think it's going to be closer than what people are going to expect, but I think that Relax will come through and put up runs at the end and just outlast them. So after that, what do you got next?
8 and Sofa.
We'll go Hate.
And then we got Shockwave and Goats.
Shockwave.
We got Rad and TBDAF.
Rad.
And now we're down to the semis. We got Relax versus Hate.
If this happens, this will be a really awesome matchup to watch. I think this will be a really good game, but I think Hate will actually squeak this one out and win. I think with Gene's a real game changer, and he holds down the Charger position and takes him to the finals.
Nice. And then the other side, we've got Shockwave and Rad.
It's gonna be another close one, but I think we could take them. I think we can beat Shockwave. I think we have the pieces to come together and take them down. And so I think it's going to be we're going to have another pool play matchup in the finals, and I've got Rad taking it.
All right. I like it. Everyone's bracket was different. We have Brick with Hate at the top, Carver with Rad, Ant with Sofa, Benoit with Hate, and Tyler with Sofa as well. 2 Hates, 2 Sofas, and 1 Rad. A reminder of the pools, what it looks like now, and then as Saw said, we'll know maybe within the next day or 2 if reseeding will happen after pool play. And I know That'll probably change everybody's strategies.
Well, that's if they don't reseed, that 4-5 is a huge matchup. Dropping Tyler's pool, dropping whoever's that 2, whoever drops down and does not become the one out of that pool gets an infinitely harder road into the finals.
You guys did a great job of researching teams, looking at rosters, calling out players, calling each other out, and making your predictions. This is your chance to say any final thoughts that you have about Founders Cup 2018. We're just 4 days away from it.
Hey, good luck, everybody. Let's have fun on Saturday. Remember that it's be good sports. Take your wins like a champ, take your losses like a champ, and just have a good time.
Nice.
I can't wait to be the least influential people at a kickball tournament weekend. Last year was eye-opening to go around and literally not know anybody and everybody. So I look forward to catching up on sleep and calling it an early night every night.
Nice.
Oh, look.
Anyone else?
Hi, Joey.
I would love to see somebody's day get ruined and not make pool play that was a super team. That would be really, really fun, actually.
Any super team in particular, or just any of them?
Any of them, all of them. I'd love to just see it because I mean they put teams together for this sole purpose. I just think it'd be fun. Vegas is fun when weird shit happens, and I want weird shit to happen.
Hey Benoit, you know you could have joined the Open, right?
I totally could have joined the Open, man. But you know we like to play with the big boys no matter what roster we're bringing. So we're there to fuck somebody's day up. We'll see which one it is.
Do it.
Anybody else?
Get in Thursday, Friday.
Thursday for me.
I got a bachelor party the same weekend in Vegas, so Thursday.
Wow, you guys are not getting out of pool play.
Man, I'm not playing. I tore my calf. I'm in a boot right now. I'll be happy if I'm walking around the field at all.
God.
I'm getting late Friday night.
I'm comfortable on a podcast and with Anthony on it.
I just did it all for fun, guys. You know that.
It's mostly your chest hair and then what you said.
That's what it is.
Thank you guys for being wonderful guests. Good luck to everybody this weekend. Be safe, drink water, stay hydrated, and no means no.
No means but.